What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Radical Roots Podcast. I am your co-host, Payron Baxter.
And I am your co-host, Ram Sandoval.
Oh, whew, oh my god! I don't know if some late allergies coming in, but I can't about to sneeze my face away, folks. Sorry about that. Yes, Rom, we are 543 days away from midterms, and as we always say, if we have a country left. But I just want to kind of put that out there as we jump into today. Of course, folks, welcome to the Radical Roots Podcast, where we dig deep to reach high, and of course, always progress through action. We're gonna just jump right into this today because there's a lot of shit going on. But Rom, give us the breakdown of what happened locally. I know you've been moving and shaking and putting your face out there.
Yeah, well, before we jump in, just make sure you like, subscribe, um, and follow, share with 5, 10 of your friends. Um, Before we jump into, so we're gonna be talking sinners tonight. But you got a few minutes. There
Sinners.
will be spoilers, but you got a few minutes. We have a few things to
Go
talk
watch it. You go watch it real quick.
talk about. There's been a lot going on this week, but if you haven't seen Sinners yet, I would go out and see it. Um, so yeah, and also first off, I'm wearing a shirt. Woke Vote.
Love that.
So Woke Vote is an organization that I learned about last week at State of the People. But essentially, they're focused on they find specific areas where they think they can increase the voter turnout from anywhere from 5 to 45%. So use a lot of data, voter registration data, demographic information, turn out the black and minority vote in certain areas. They're based out of Alabama and New York, and just really, they kind of reminded me when we talked to Brandon Rivers, finding the people in the community early, and giving them the tools, the training, and whatnot to help increase awareness around elections and candidates. So I was interested in that organization. I'm gonna be chatting with them some more. Maybe
Yeah.
take
Maybe
some
have them
tips
on.
take some tips. Maybe tips for apply to Monroe. Maybe even target Monroe. So the
Yeah,
other
for sure. I mean, I tried to reach out to Latasha Brown with Black Voters Matter, so
that was actually the other organization that also is similar. And yeah,
Okay.
so we'll definitely have someone
Nice,
on and
nice.
turn that stuff into bigger actions here locally, maybe. The other thing is, so this week they had the Union County School Board meeting uh,
Yeah,
here
tell us
here
about it.
here, but that's in Monroe. So I pulled up. There's been some students at Monroe High School that have been speaking out on anti-ICE, keeping ICE out of school. As obviously as back in February we were at the first anti-ICE protest at the school board meeting. Since then, students and more people have gotten involved in various ways, but these two students have been speaking, and they asked for some support. So I came out and listened to them speak, and just kind of listened to the whole thing at the school board meeting. But yeah, there was a lot of speakers that were speaking out on keeping ICE out of schools, and calling out the county school board of education because they have not properly addressed and created a policy and a process when ICE could potentially approach the school. They say, well, it's not happening. It's not happening yet. But as leaders, you would think you need to be proactive and prepare for things, and not just say, well, we turn it over to our lawyers and we let the sheriff do whatever they want. But more of, and hey, an administrative warrant from ICE is not actually legally required to do anything. It's not a judicial
Right,
warrant, right?
right. It's not a
So
warrant, right?
so a lot of school districts, some in North Carolina, have basically said unless you have a judicial warrant, we're not letting you in. So they've kind of chickened out of that. Um, they also had a lot of heavy police presence. When I pulled up, there was about 10 different police cars parked, and I noticed it. And one of the parents called that was speaking before, she said, before I go into my speech, like, what's going on here? Are you trying to intimidate us? Are you trying to scare? Like, what is happening? And I thought it was good to call them out, because why? I've never seen anything threatening at any of these school board meetings, even during the protests when there were 75 of us out there, there was less cops, right? So yeah,
It was less than that,
yeah,
or more than that, or
there
more than
was
that.
more cops, yeah, Tuesday than there was during the protests.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then another thing, tariffs came up right in the budget. So they had approvals for Chromebooks, right, through
Hmm.
Lenovo, and then they basically said, well, this was approved, but just so you know, it's going to be about a little over 300,000 more because Lenovo let us know that the tariffs are going to affect us, and so um, they continue to push that through, but that's a real life effect. I mean, that's almost a $500,000 um, that could have been used somewhere else. So that's a
Yeah.
reality.
I mean,
And
did they seem to react well to that? Is like, I mean, they're all Republicans.
they
Oh, they're
seem
like,
to
hey man,
gloss over it.
we're glad we're paying
They,
more.
they glossed over it.
Mm.
You know,
Fiscally conservative, they say.
yeah,
Mm.
and so they
Mm.
did increase the teacher supplements. They increased that on the budget while they were there, and then they also attempted to increase their stipend by double.
Oh,
And
okay.
Reverend Kirkpatrick said, "Hold on, let's how about instead of even not even doubling it, but let's just remove the increase." And so it was voted on, and four other of the Republicans joined him, and then the four Republicans still wanted the stipend. Reverend
Mm.
Benchin and Sandra
I mean, come on.
Green and a couple others.
Because that's what Jesus would have wanted.
Tucker and Price. So these people, I mean, I think you're in it for the wrong reasons if you feel like you need to take a stipend when the teachers are, some of the most, one already underpaid professions. And then, North Carolina is pretty far behind. They like to tout house the best school district. Well, if one of the best school districts, if that's the case, then pay the teachers accordingly. So yeah, that was that. So I think it's good to show up. I posted a little recap on our Facebook and try to spread the word to the community. Just give it in a little digest, right?
Yeah,
So more people know what's happening, and then you don't have to watch the whole thing. I
that's great.
noticed the
Yeah.
apple on your shirt. What's that about?
This shirt has no sort of representation.
Okay,
So I
just
know we
saying, it's
said
a
we wanted
teacher.
to
I
do
thought I was like
that.
maybe it's a
This
teacher, but
this is the first time. Yes, this because you give your teacher an apple. This is the first time my shirt actually absolutely means positively nothing because I did forget to change to the shirt that I was going to wear. So thank you, Ron, for calling me out. I thought I was gonna like just continue on and yes, you give teachers apples. So that's what this is for. Actually, thank you
I
for
I did
drawing the line.
last week. It was my grandmother's eighth anniversary since her passing, and we went to the Monroe Festival. And they had some earrings that were like an apple, like it was dedication to teachers. And my grandmother was a teacher, so it was apple
Mm.
earrings, and I got that from my mother. I gave it to her because she's not going to be on Mother's Day, so she knows. But yeah, from the girls and to kind of commemorate. So I thought the apple might have represented for teachers, but yeah. Anyways,
It says farmers market. So I mean, technically, you got to get apples from an orchard. Orchards go to the market, or then they go to the teacher, if you want to, ipso facto, if you will.
yeah. So yeah, that's the Union County School Board trying to get more people. Also, the Union County Commissioners, they're looking for people to serve on various committees. Again, there's things from juvenile anti-crime and the medical, like Atrium Health, all sorts of things. So I think like if people can get more involved, the better, especially locally,
Let-
right?
Let's
And
see if maybe if we can post that on our website to kind of the applicants for that.
y- yeah,
Is
actually,
there an
so
application?
matter of fact, I did post it on our threads, and so
Okay.
if people are interested in that, but yeah, Atrium Health Advisory, Agricultural Advisory, Workforce Development, Juvenile Crime Prevention, Land Use, Community College Board. So if those are your things, your expertise, your interests, highly suggested, right? So we can have more and better influence in Union County. Um, and you don't have to be elected; you don't have to run. So, but you do have to be like chosen. So I don't know how that process works by the commissioner to make sure you're qualified. But hey, can't know if you don't try.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly. So big news this week in North Carolina.
Big news.
The Supreme Court justice race is finally over. So we went about 6 months, I believe, and we finally have a winner. So the winner is Allison Riggs,
Is
and
the winner is the winner is the
she's
winner
been
we
the
already
winner
knew is the
again. Yeah,
winner, right?
she's now won again.
Right. The unshocking win of the person that won. Right. Yeah, I thought this was I'm glad that, of course, clearly, I'm glad that it came out this way. Allison Riggs had a hard fought race. Was over like 9 million ballots cast, but or some crazy number like that. I do forget the number. I should remember that, but I do forget the number. And won by 734 votes, right? So it was razor thin. I've heard about this on national media. I've heard about it on urban radio, ironically. They're talking about this morning on one of my favorite shows to listen to, talking about the Allison Riggs race. So this was major stuff. A lot of folks had their eyes on this. This was the last statewide race across the country that was not called. Um, Griffith was just a Republican in action, and I think to me, I think I told you like this was an exercise of power to show people that it's not about necessarily was he right. He knew he was wrong. He was wrong as two left shoes, but this was an exercise of power. And I keep trying to remind people this: you cannot disaggregate the Republican Party from their pieces of the whole. Not just Donald Trump, not just Griffith, not just these other folks. It is a movement.
Yeah.
It is a movement that is testing. It's like Jurassic Park, right? The Velociraptors. They're like, okay, is the fence electric right here? No, okay. So they're testing it, right? And it's up to us to say no to that. Now, my critique slightly is because a lot of folks, high fiving and we did it, Joe. My whole thing was just like, this came down to the courts, and the most we did was absolutely raise funds for the legal fight. But in the end of the day, no one had to cure a ballot, no one had to change their vote because none of the votes got thrown out. Because logically, it didn't make sense. Because if you threw out 60,000 votes, that means that you're throwing out 60,000 votes for probably Trump and probably all these other folks who are up and down the ticket, and it didn't make sense logically. So this was the only logical conclusion they could have came to if they want to say the rule of law does exist, which is again is a set of rules set up by people who do not look like us. But I'm glad this outcome was what it was. But and again, this was just more of to me a sit and wait game, and I'm glad there was a lot of attention brought to this. But in reality, I don't think people did like the populace didn't do anything beyond make noise, which is good. But it came down to judgment.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that I don't think that it should be overlooked. I do think the attention matters. I think a lot of people nationally weren't talking about it, and if you can raise funds by creating visibility, that, like you said, that goes a long way, right?
Yeah.
And shout out to Allison Riggs for, I mean, granted, I wouldn't expect someone who won to give up.
Right. Right.
But and I know her and Anderson Clayton at the Carolina levels, and probably I'm sure the whole North Carolina Democratic Party, but yeah, they tried to steal it, and they almost got away with it. The judicial, and that it kind of underscores how important the judicial is and will continue to be, because you have all of these courts, local courts, appellate courts within North Carolina that are still Republican, that have clearly were ruling in Jefferson's favor to steal this. And they've now allowed and then you have the Assembly in North Carolina, who took the North Carolina Board of Elections power away from the governor, moved it
Yep.
over to the state auditor, because
It's
that
the only
was
one
like
they
the
have
only
on
seat. It was the only state seat
right.
that they actually won.
Correct.
And so they're like, well, okay, it's been like this for a century, but we're gonna find a way to take power, and the courts upheld that decision for them to do that. And in this case, it went to a federal court, and the federal court said, certify this thing, it's over. And I thought that he was going to again appeal. It would have went to the Fourth Circuit. I've learned so much about the judicial system, just from this one, I will say that, like, just from this one instance of understanding like how it bounces around from these local courts, it goes to the appellate courts, it goes. I
You're
mean,
like a
it's
1L law student at this
yeah,
point.
yeah. I mean, but I, I learned so much, right? And so I thought I was going to the Fourth Circuit, and then I thought I was going to go to the Supreme Court, but he finally threw in the towel, and which is good because this is a test, like you said, and they would have been trying to do this everywhere. I wouldn't put them past it to continue to try, but
They will, but
the courts matter for a long time, and the courts in some areas is all that's really going to be standing between a lot of the shenanigans. So, anywho,
I think a good thing though is that she was already she's already on the Supreme Court, because let's say she wasn't, and then there was just 6 months missing,
right.
and then you only get eight. Like that's the bullshit of it all. It's like you can't just do this, but it only works if you're a Republican. And that's why I get so irritated with the idea of like there are good Republicans out there because people vote for this thing. People vote for this movement to be able to have non-democratic, apolitical power over people, and it leads to chaos, leads to confusion, it leads to disharmony. And these are the same people, as we're going to talk about in a second here, the Pope, that are call themselves Christians,
Yeah, I,
and it's
yeah.
insane.
I didn't see any Republicans say that he lost. Well, I take that back. The former governor of North Carolina actually did say something 2 weeks ago. Finally, when he was a Republican, but like
Yeah.
I didn't really see Republicans like saying. But if it was a Democrat that was fighting like this, Democrats would have been telling that person to drop out and give up and it's over. And I don't. I think first off, I don't think that it would be healthy for anyone to be trying to overturn an election, right? But I'm just saying, Democrats are better folks in that regard of like holding people accountable and being like, get this guy out of here. He's wasting time. He's wasting money. But anyways, I digress. Um, so
Congrats, Allison Riggs,
congrats, Allison Riggs.
from the
Hopefully,
Radical Roots podcast. Hopefully, we'll have
yes.
you on the show.
Yes, working on it. So, um, the big news today for Catholics and other believers and maybe even non-believers, I imagine. But the Pope, there's a new Pope. For some reason, I'm not Catholic. I've always been kind of fascinated and interested when they choose a new Pope. I don't know if it goes back to like when I was. I remember Pope John Paul quite significantly. He was Pope, as I understand it, for a very long time. He passed in 2005, and I remember they picked Benedict on my birthday back then, so that kind of sticks out. I remember being like at my grandmother's house and watching it, and
That
I
was kind of all
remember,
around that was kind of all around the same time.
yeah,
Or even
yeah,
even this one, right?
yeah, exactly. So, and then the last
Because
time,
the Pope died on your birthday, right?
no, no, I don't think so.
Because he died on Easter, and your birthday was the day before Easter, right?
He
So
died the
so
day after. He
there's
died the
still
day after Easter. Yeah, John J.D. Vance.
no, it was the day
Off.
before Easter.
I think the
No,
day
no, no,
after.
excuse me. He died on Easter. That's what it was. Because there was a video that someone was like, J.D. Vance killing the Pope
It was the day. It was the
on
day after
Easter.
Easter. It was the day after Easter, right? Because
Was it?
April 21st, which was I believe the day after Easter. Because my birth, it was on the 20th this year. Easter was. So he passed away that Monday. J.D. Vance met him on Easter, I believe, and then he passed away. But
Okay.
anyways, so I'm always kind of like I
It's
watch.
still a connection. There's
Yeah,
still a
I don't know.
connection
Like,
there.
but so I had to stream. I have the stream when the smoke comes up, and I kind of flipped it on. I wasn't like watching for the past 24 hours, but I had it on, and I saw when it came up, and like see who I thought they were going to pick out that the Filipino cardinal, but
The woke one.
yeah, yeah. So we now have Pope Leo, who
Hmm.
is his name is Robert Francis Prevost, but he's from Chicago. So, which
Another
he's the
connection.
first, yeah, he's the first American. Which I so the Catholic Church will always be plagued by um child abuse, and they will. It's just that's just what it is, especially in this era. Um, and but
and colonialism.
yeah, people forget about that, but yes.
It's the
um,
only reason we know about it. It's the only reason we know about it.
but he is. I've been, as I understand it, I didn't know who he was
Hmm.
personally, but uh, people consider him to be more on the liberal side. Not as much as Francis, apparently, but this has got MAGA and Republicans are on that side up in arms. They say he's
I mean, but
woke.
they're always up in arms.
He's up.
It doesn't
He's
take much to get them up in
they
arms.
call him woke because he's, I guess, cares about people.
And
uh,
and he's taking folks like JD Vance and Trump to task. And that's what they don't like because their whole thing is they want to be able to do bad and still be accepted into polite society. And he did not give that to him for years. So it's not like it's a new thing since January 20th.
yeah. So JD Vance and Trump had some nice things to say. It will only be a matter of time before Trump says something. But I think he, yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
We can't forget JD Vance is a recent convert to Catholicism.
Hmm.
He converted in 2019, and the old phrase that there's nobody more zealous than a new convert. So JD Vance is a part of the new Apostolic Reformation, the new Catholics, or was it the Vatican II movement and all that good stuff, or bad stuff, if you will. So these people they're far right Catholics that use their influence to um, change legislation and change political outcomes. So it's not about your fellow man. It's not about humanity. It's not about the earth. It's not about treating yourself right and none of that. It is all about subject. It's that old school Catholicism. It's that doctrine of discovery stuff. So yeah, I do look forward to see the battering rams. What we got here?
Yeah, this is Laura Loomer, who's now has
Oh,
a
Jigsaw.
significant. She's a influencer with significant influence within the Trump administration.
Oh,
Um,
he's really close to Trump, by some say.
he's anti, yeah, anti Trump, anti MAGA, pro open borders, total Marxist like pro Pope Francis. Catholics don't have anything good to look forward to. Just another Marxist puppet in the Vatican. Wow.
She's
So
she's Jewish, by the way.
she also got rid of the Surgeon General pick, who was unqualified, of course, but she got rid of her because she was, I guess, pro vaccine and you know
How dare
pro
you?
COVID protection, and not because she also lied about her credentials. So this is who they picked now. I don't know who they're picking. Some other um,
This is what you
person
get
who
when you get rid of
never, some
DEI.
other doctor that didn't finish their residency,
Of course,
and
of course.
then yeah, now she's, I think, blessing the Janine Pirro for
Yes, DC
DC attorney
Attorney General.
general. I mean, come on,
Yes,
these are the these are the
we got
most.
Judge. We got Judge Box of Wine for Attorney General Box of Wine, who's drunk on television a lot, actually. But there's plenty of clips out there. You can just search like a compilation of Janine Pearl slurring her words, and this is the demon rats. So yeah, that'll be nice in one of the heavily democratic areas in the country.
Yes. So that's that. That's the news. Let's get into it. Sinners, ready?
Sinners,
Finally.
sinners. Finally, folks, hopefully during that wind up was supposed to only take 10 minutes. You all had a chance to see Sinners if you haven't seen it. But yeah, Sinners is a 2025 movie written and directed by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan, and a cast of fantastic people: Wumi Mfongo, Delroy Lindo, Kate and Miles, I believe, Haley Steinfeld, and a bunch of other folks. So Ram and I have been meaning to talk about this movie for a while. I'm sure all of you have seen a lot of the digest and all the breakdowns and the hidden conspiracy theories and the was this reading into that and what the Easter eggs are. But we just want to give you kind of our thousand foot view up. We don't want to take too much time up, but we at least wanted to have an episode dedicated to how we feel about it because it impacted us so deeply as black men, and I think it's just as people in general. But I'll let you open it up, Ron.
Yeah, so I did see it the day it came out. That Friday night, I went out alone, and
Before me, which is wild because I was like, I gotta go see the movie,
well,
and you're
yeah, it
like,
was
it was
around the same
great.
time.
I was like, damn, dog.
Not, I think you went to this around the same time, but I couldn't get a babysitter that weekend, so I said, well, I'll go by myself, and I just felt a little bit inspired to fill up the flask and bring that in the theater. Yeah, so I'm sitting there, and Delroy pops in, and he's got his flask, and I was like, yeah, like, oh, yeah, that's how I felt. I don't go into movie theaters with. Actually, it's probably my first time. Actually, I generally,
Okay,
uh,
okay.
not at least not since college, right? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it was the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, that was an experience.
And how many
Uh,
times have you seen it?
I've seen it twice. I went to go see it
Okay.
again. My wife and I went and together, and I was completely sober at the time,
And
and
in that time, she had the flask. The flask was still in there.
this, yeah, and it was, I remember the music scene. If you tell people, hey, the music scene, they know what you're talking about,
No question.
and so I was like, oh, it was exactly what it was. Like I was like, man, that was, my friend, like, damn, that was damn near an out of body experience, man. Like that was crazy, and I feel like as IMAX had a lot to do with it. Like the sounds, I
Yeah.
haven't seen it in non IMAX, but the sounds, and so I love music. The second time I saw it, I was like, man, this actually could qualify as a musical. Um, really, and so yeah, that was my initial thoughts, and I try to stay away from. I try not to watch too
Spoilers.
many, not spoilers, but too many like too much commentary, because I have some ideas and things I wanted to talk about here. I don't really talk about movies, so well, first off, I never had a podcast, but second off, there's only some movies I'd like to deep dive into. I love thinking about
Oh, for
movies, but I
sure.
usually don't like
Yeah.
talk about it on a public podcast. So, but anyways, what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, man. I thought it was great. Clearly, I saw the movie three times.
Oh,
Again,
three.
Ron beat me to the punch on day one, but it's just because I got the response like as I was in the movie, like, movie was great. I was like, hold on, I'm still.
Oh, you?
It ain't over.
I thought you were like,
It ain't over
really?
yet. I was like, dude must have caught me out there. But nah, I went with my frat brothers the first time. And then the second time I took my wife, who saw it in IMAX, and then I took my mother in IMAX the week after. So three times, twice in IMAX, once not. But no, it was I think it's a period piece. It really I think told the story of survival. I think it showed Black humanity in a way of it wasn't like I love as Ryan Coogler said, it wasn't a movie that it was like uh Black trauma porn. It wasn't like, oh, we gotta fight the we gotta fight the white man in here, and we gotta make sure you gotta be better, son. And it wasn't that, it was a movie that had is that showed Black agency, it showed Black entrepreneurship, Black, ability to be within inside of oneself, one's community, and how fluid our community is, and how we support one another in ways that may not look the way society tells us society should move, and how we celebrate ourselves, and how we um, adorn ourselves with certain trappings that really uplift ourselves, make ourselves feel better, right? Like gold teeth, and yeah, we just had the Met Gala, right? Black dandyism was the theme, and dare I say, Smoke and Stack, the two main characters. Played by Michael B. Jordan, and I'm sure you can agree with this. Michael B. Jordan he played two characters, but I mean, you could tell Michael B. Jordan was he's one man, but he played two characters, and they were completely different,
Yeah.
right? Like Smoke and Stack were two different people. So that brother deserves all the flowers. But yeah, I think Ryan Coogler said it felt like a full meal, and I can agree with that. So yeah, man, the cinematography was great. I don't know if you caught the 10-minute kind of breakdown Ryan Coogler did before the movie came out, where he was talking about the different types of film he was
Mhm.
shooting it on. That got that randomly. That was brilliant. That randomly got so many people interested in this movie because you saw someone that was so dedicated to his craft that we haven't
Right.
probably seen in a long time
Right.
for anything, any sport, any sort of profession. I mean, I haven't seen anybody break down in his Bay Area accent. You know what I'm saying right here. You know what I'm saying. We got 70 millimeter. You know what I'm saying. 15 perforations. We got 50 perforations right here. You know what I'm saying. Across that. And you're gonna see that in the IMAX. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing it in the IMAX. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh man, okay, this brother is like he teaching me about something. I'm like, I need to go to film school.
Yeah.
That made me really excited to go see it. And again, someone who has given a Fruitvale Station, Creed 2, or is
Black
it,
Panther. Black Panther. Yeah,
no,
there's
Black
they're
Panther.
working on Creed
Black,
3 now.
it was this was their fifth movie together. So it was
Mhm.
Fruitvale Station, Creed, Black Panther 2, and then Sinners.
Mhm.
So the fifth collaboration between Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. But again, this brother, people got upset about the deal, and his deal is going to blow up Hollywood, and because what his deal was he's going to get paid off the top. Most folks get paid after all the expenses are done. Then you get paid after all the back ends. Then that's when you get your percentage. But Ryan said this was not new, and he earned it, right? Folks will say that he was extorting the studio, but no, he earned it. He paid for Fruitvale, paid for Black Panther, billions of dollars. Black Panther 2, billions of dollars. This brother earned it. And for something that he can own for himself, I thought was beautiful. And he said that he's made, what was the quote? He said, I've made films for so long, and I made people billions of dollars that will never be mine.
Mm.
Like the product will never be mine. I said, man, that's deep. So this is his now. So
Y-
great story.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of naysayers, during the first week that made $48 million domestically, and they're like, "Oh,
How
it's
dare
it's a
you?
but it's a $90 million film," and so they're a long ways off.
Eh,
Well, it's now at I think 240
actually,
240 million
okay, but if you get to subtract
worldwide,
90 million, it's not really 240 million. So it's
and,
not that great.
and then we're on week 3, and
Okay,
it's
why isn't
also
week
an
four?
original.
Is it? I've
So
seen
very
vampire movies.
successful movie. I thought it was Michael B. Jordan's best one. I think it was his best performance.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, even
for
I mean,
sure.
he played two people, and it was like, you know, uh, at first I was like, so I tried not to even like watch much of the previews. I kind of wanted to go in like not knowing. I was like, wait, is that Michael B. Jordan playing both? And
Again?
my wife said the same thing, and he was like, wait, like, and so but then when you actually get to know the characters too, they're different. And
Yeah.
that takes a lot of skill and dedication. And I think what's his name, Omar Benson Miller from he had talked about that being underappreciated and like in terms of like the technology and being able to switch. And yeah, I thought that was a really cool element to it. Again, I thought it was a spiritual experience. I think when you talk about spirituality and the struggles between good and bad, the struggles between the church and outside the church, even like the music, it also hoodoo was in there,
Hmm.
and I just think that when you talk about, I think the music and the temptations that were always around, women, lust. There was music when the time it was very joyful, and then towards in the middle of the club when it kind of turned into, it got way more crazier, rowdier as the night went on. I think that kind of I thought you think about uh that's how I've always kind of viewed music. I like for rap in Chicago, drill music, for example. Kind of get you. I mean, I like the beat, the
Especially,
bass line.
especially when they were stomping old boy out. I was like, that's some drill music right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, and but then you talk about killing people and stuff like that. And it's always been like that juxtaposition of like, man, I love this music sounds cool, but then the content you're talking about, it's always kind of been a struggle for me sometimes listening to it and being like,
Yeah,
man,
me too.
and glorifying it.
Hmm.
But and I think that the movie also in some ways represented that. I think they were having for example, we were having a great time, enjoying themselves, and then as people get drunker and start to indulge, then all of a sudden there's a fight, there's violence, and then the whole mood changes, right? And that's it's
Yeah.
very much like my 20s, right? Of uh they say that nothing good happens after midnight, the devil's hours at
Yeah.
3 a.m.
That's
It's
crazy. You heard, I mean, I didn't know that was a big phrase, but I heard that when I was like like fresh out of pledging, and one of my older brothers said that to us, like, don't go out because nothing good happens after you leave the house after like 11:30 or something like that.
Mhm.
And lo and behold, we got into a fight that night.
And yeah, and I've been there, right? And so there's a DJ in Chicago who I've been a fan of, DJ Sean Mack, and he used to call himself like the warlock on the ones and twos, and because he can control the party,
Mm.
and he literally could, right? Like, you play the vibe, you could control the whole. You're a DJ and you're a good DJ. I mean, you can control the party, and you play Knuck and you Buck. You play certain songs at the wrong
I was
time.
about to ask, I mean, because you're about my age. Like my freshman year in college was like crunk music was, and now granted, I'm from Pittsburgh. I
Mhm,
came to North Carolina to go to college.
mhm.
That's when like crunk music was big. So like, put your hand in your fist up, like forever I love Atlanta.
Yeah.
Like that was like that. If you wanted to fight, you go to the club.
Right. Yep. Yep. Yeah, Little John, East Side Boy, like all those, Little
Yeah,
Scrappy.
yeah.
Right. Ludacris,
Come on,
with
man.
the be on the,
Come
and
on, man.
Knuck if you like. So there were certain like like like, and it could literally just start getting people in a mood, and then the DJ will tone it down, if or like they'll the club, like, will bar and tell the people to tone it down. But I thought when that fight broke out, I was like, yeah, it's very symbolic. The next thing you know,
Very.
the guns come out, and then
Yeah,
it's like it's the
slicing. Yep.
whole vibe changes, and it's like, to me,
Yeah.
that was like, I don't know, it just made me think of just kind of experiences that we see and that I've had, right? Just being out after certain times, and you're indulging, and temptation comes along and things like that. So I don't know, that was how I looked at it, and spirituality in terms of like, you know um you know Sammy being,
Preacher boy. Hmm.
yeah, preacher boy being pulled and pushed from the church. His father's a preacher, and um then they come and pick him up, and
I I like how they did his father because his father played by Saul
Mhm,
Williams,
mhm,
activist, brilliant. And I thought, I was like, no, I saw, I was like, oh my God, I got Saul Williams in the movie. That's so cool. I mean, that's also not really spoken about too, that he played Sammy's father, because he wasn't a part of the press junket. But from jump, right, from the beginning of the film, when he walks through the church doors, they show the dichotomy between the angelic singing, and then they cut to Remick, for a quick pause. So they're showing how it's immediately melding together these two worlds, the unholy and the holy, the yin and the yang. These two parts make up what it means to have this soulful connection,
mhm,
what it means to have because he has this gift to be able to pierce the veil between life and death. And I think that really showed that, right? Like the church, they're wearing all white on Sunday, and it cuts to Remick in his most like feral self with the claws and the teeth in the water. In that moment too, at the end, where like he's talking to him, and it's like it's almost like a baptism, right? Remember, he's dunking him in the water. So I think he took a lot of care with religion, and spirituality, and blend them together, where one didn't feel that it was above the other, right?
mhm,
Because a lot of our liberation, as captives, and the descendants of captives, with the only cheat code we really had to really organize was inside the black church,
mhm,
right? So that's where a lot of our liberation came from. But we also saw how that could be a bit constricting, and how that can be a bit, boxed in, how there is this level of liberation from outside that in the more secular world, and
mhm,
how those two things come together, but they also can attract evil,
mhm,
right? So I love that kind of that message, because it took our experiences and it put it in one whole spectrum. It wasn't just like this is good and that is bad. It shows, hey,
mhm,
that might be constricting. That does seem a bit like, stilted, where you're not going to have all the information. But then also we see how death can come from the other excess, right? And that's very important too, as we talk about as being young men going out. Like, Yeah, everything in moderation, including moderation, right? So you don't want to make sure you don't want to be on the extremes on either end. And I think he balanced that as well. And I think as we talk about spirituality, Annie was, she seemed to be the expert in hoodoo and anything supernatural. She said, "You still got that bag?" And then her
Mm-hmm.
line to Smoke was like, "How do you know that my prayers wasn't one keeping you safe?"
Mm-hmm.
And that's when she asked you have that bag, and then he pulled his vest open, boom. And it's kind of like, well, how do you know
Right.
that wasn't what protected you?
Yep.
How do you know that? And that's like that's kind of a
And that's
I
the
don't know.
and to me, like that's the idea of faith. And for me, I don't think my religion, my spirituality doesn't say that I absolutely have the correct and only religion, right? And I think that this movie also didn't push that idea of like there's only one religion, it has to be this. And it allowed room to to explore other things, especially within the Black culture. If you go to um, certain African countries, certain like Haitian countries, even down in New Orleans, that all that stuff comes from various sources, right? So when we talk about the influence of the Catholic Church and the influence of Christianity and how those things were
Yeah,
brought into African cultures, like there was other things before that, and it was more of like what would be considered spirituality and whatnot. And so and those traditions continue to exist, right? And things
correct.
that would be considered weird by many, right? Or because it's different, is actually it's actually just normal for what people do. In Native American culture or indigenous cultures have different different ways of expressing spirituality. And I think so for me, I thought it was a spiritual experience just to kind of see it in this way, in this lens. And I had actually had a
And
conversation.
sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say I had a conversation like the night before I saw this movie, and it was interesting because we were talking about music and religion, and how
Mm-hmm.
music can be good or bad. And I was at the bar, and this girl's telling me like how she used to listen to or she used to rap, and the music she was involved in was very, her life could have been bad if she continued partaking that type of music. And then then I see this movie and I'm like, man, it's very interesting, right? So yeah, I just think that it was and it also reminded me of a sermon I just watched, right, when they were talking about the the twos and the fours versus the ones and the threes, and
Yeah.
music in the church, and like all of those things. So, but what were you gonna say?
That was big, but as a side note, that was big at the Kendrick concert. You could tell folks on hey, I'm just saying, I'm leaving it at that. But anyway, no, but Delta Slim actually addresses that with Sammy to a degree, right? He's
Mm,
like, we brought this from home.
yep.
Now, to the layperson, home could be Mississippi, the Delta,
Mm-hmm.
right? It could be Clarksdale, could be Reidsville, right? These places down. No, he meant Africa.
Mm-hmm.
He meant home Africa. He meant the continent. He said this came from home, the blues, right? The rhythm, the soul stirring music that gets you going, to get you moaning and get you groaning. He said that wasn't pushed on us like that religion. And I thought that was a ballsy thing to say in our current climate and what people are searching for. And dare I say, what we talked about earlier today with the Pope of like that, all these are all totems of our colonization
Mm-hmm.
because we are the descendants of captives who were the descendants of people who were not. And Delta Slim made that connection in that moment, saying, "This is who we are. Yes, we are in this condition, but I want you to feel it." And that's why he said, "Introduce yourself. Tell the people." They talked about the griots, the firekeepers, the Feely from Ireland, or griot. They actually pronounced it wrong in the movie, but just to keep it consistent, the griots. um, and the firekeepers, right? So the idea that music has always been something spiritual, right? But that this is why, and I go back and I always talk about colonization because it's very important that we understand to peel back the layers of the onion that we're dealing with now in our society. But that's why our music was always deemed devilish.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like when they came to the shores in Africa, they heard the drums on the djembe, boom, 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 that pulled lamb skin.
Hmm.
You know that's a tradition that goes back thousands of years that predates Christianity. Djembes, those drums they actually were playing inside of the juke joint. And the guy was like, Ebo, Ebo, Ebo.
Hmm.
Like he took it back. Okay, like this is where these drums come from. Like for folks to love 808s, this comes from a parts of the Ivory Coast that we may never see or that we may never live in, right? So like I thought that was a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
But
I.
some of the characters, so we talked about Smoke and Stack, their duality. I think the idea of um, violence being meted out. I think when you think about who's violent and the characters who are more off the cuff, you would think it might be Stack.
Hmm.
But in reality, Stack wasn't violent at all, but one time in the entire film, and that was when he bit Annie. The violent one was always Smoke, starting from when Stack threw his knife to Smoke to stab the snake. Remember that?
Hmm.
Or when the truck was getting robbed, he comes out, he shoots them two brothers, but one in the ass, one in the knee, and said, "I had to do this because you can't say that you almost robbed the twins."
Hmm.
I mean, he was teaching lessons, right? And then
Hmm.
and then when he hit Sammy in the mouth, then of course at the end, with this Tarantino-esque ending. Smoke was the one who was violent, but I think it was to protect his people, right? Because we saw both sides of that, and then on the other side, Stack, he kind of got to live his life because Smoke was always protecting him. He even said that to Sam. He said, "This nigga don't know how to protect himself.
Hmm.
He'll know how to take care of himself. So I need you to watch him."
Hmm.
Right. So, but this is why Stack could always smile. This is why Stack could always do what he was doing because in reality, Smoke was taking care of him, even down to the women. Right. Smoke had to protect her with Annie, but yet Stack can be out here chasing skirts with Mary. So I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, there was it was just so many like it sounds cliche at this point, but like so many layers in this movie. It's like
No, it's not. I mean, we listen. We will be discussing Sinners in 25 years. I mean, as a society,
hmm. I
no
do
question.
think is a masterpiece in terms of
Yeah,
especially just the way it explored different things. I thought Delroy Lindo,
come on.
first off, so one of my friends
He said
he said
that fool said,
he looks the same as he did in
"Oh
19
boy."
he looks the same as he did in 1990.
Yeah, that melanin is beautiful, ain't it, baby?
But he's
You know he, he's British.
yeah, I do.
I
I
didn't know
forget that.
that.
I forget that because he doesn't. I don't think he doesn't really speak with a heavy British accent. He don't speak with a
No,
heavy British
he grew
accent,
up here
but you
though.
can hear it come through,
Yeah,
maybe a little bit. But
he moved here when he was 19.
yeah,
I learned that.
but he sacrificed himself at the
Hmm.
end, and he was a real one. You know what I mean? And so yeah, I liked his character a lot.
Now, the one side note, there was one point that I don't understand about Delta Slim,
Hmm.
and maybe you go watch, maybe you got to go watch the third time for you to understand.
Probably, maybe.
So, again, so we when Stack gives him the beer, the Irish beer, and he's like, "Oh boy, oh boy," the Shannon Sharp meme. But then right before he sacrifices himself, he cuts himself. But what does he
Hmm.
do? He takes one more sip of the Irish beer, and then he says, "Ugh, still nasty." So what was it? Was it nasty or was it good? Because he acted like it like levitated him initially, but then before he cut himself, he's like, "Ugh, still nasty." So what was it? What was it, man?
Yeah, I don't know. I have
Or
no
he just an
idea.
alcoholic. He's just an alcoholic.
Yeah, just an alcoholic, and
That's when
they
they
don't
get
care
drunk.
how it tastes exactly. What else I have here? Any other characters that come
Cornbread,
to?
man. I
Oh
love
man,
that. Cornbread. So cornbread didn't have to go that far to pee. You had to go that far to pee, brother.
Foul.
I mean, I feel like the whole crowd, the whole audience was saying this. Like, why are you going that far to pee? First of all, vampire or not, there's a jackal out there or some sort of possum. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Would you walk that far?
Nah, 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 nah. Well, I don't know. It depends. um, yeah. Uh, I don't know. You know, it's funny. The first time I saw this movie, I didn't know vampire. I don't watch a lot of vampire. I actually barely any vampire movies. I didn't
You seen
know that they
Blade?
had. I didn't know you had to invite them. I have seen Blade, but it's been a long time. And did the invite apply to that movie? Was that a thing?
No,
Okay, that's why it's not in every vampire movie.
I've
But
only seen it one time, and that was in True Blood. So that was
so
my first time ever seen that in True Blood. So
so I didn't. First time I didn't know that. By the time this actually these things were occurring, a little tipsy. I'm like, what? Like, what's? I'm like, why is there not like letting it in?
nigga, get up in there, nigga.
And then when Grace when Grace
Hold
uh
on, it's down cornbread for a second because I'm gonna get the
okay.
grace. Let's give everybody their own
Okay.
time real quick.
Well, anyways, what I was saying was like it didn't actually make sense of like why all of a sudden they came in the first time I saw that movie until I saw it the second time
Right.
because Grace was like, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. That's real. That's real. Um, and I thought when he was outside, like we just being happy with one another. I was like, okay, this nigga weird. Okay,
Yeah.
something ain't right. Okay, bro. Like you ain't never talk like
And
this.
they're
I'd have
all
known you
standing
since you was
around.
right. Like you go big ass that can push us around, but you up here talking about some let me in. It didn't make no sense. And I mean, bro almost got his arm chewed off, and I was like, whew. I was like, okay, this shit about to get real. Um, because cornbread, he wanted some cornbread, some of that cornbread. So that was good. And then just before we get to Bo and Grace, um, and I thought that Omar did great in that role. I saw him on a lot of different podcasts that I listened to. Ola Yemi and Friends, he did a great spot there with Fred Joseph, and they saw this is before the movie came out, and they were talking about like because people were like, this is so this episode premiered after the movie came out, but they recorded this before the movie before the movie premiered.
Mhm.
So they're trying. So Omar and Fred Joseph. Do you follow Fred Joseph?
No, I don't know who's Fred
Okay,
Joseph.
he's an author, activist.
Okay.
Anyway, so but he got an early screening, and Omar knew that, and they're both trying to explain to the group of people who were on the podcast, like, because they were like, I was like, my boyfriend's afraid, he's afraid of scary movies, and he don't watch vampire movies, and then like Omar was like, Fred, like you seen it right, like this isn't that type of thing. This ain't that type of thing. And Fred was like, no. He's like, like when I left, I felt like I could like lift the world. And everybody was like, what? It's a vampire movie. And it's like when you try to explain this to people who haven't seen it, you're like, it's not like that.
It's
This isn't a vampire movie. And I think Ryan Coogler said this isn't a vampire movie with black people. This is a movie about black people that got some the vampires show up.
yeah, I think that's a accurate way to describe it. Like I said, vampire movies aren't really my thing. Scary movies aren't my wife's thing. She's likes vampire stuff a little bit. I told her it's a vampire movie. It's not really like that. In
Right.
the very beginning, when there was that little when it jumped to what's his name,
Remick.
Remick. I was like, I didn't know. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I forgot about that part. But like, yeah,
Because he was drunk.
but yeah, dude, when I got home, I wasn't drunk, but like when I got home, I was listening to the soundtrack on the way home, and
Oh,
I forget what song was on the time I got home, but uh, I had the music up and I was dancing outside because that was just
because you was
I was
drunk.
feeling it. No, I was feeling it. Like you said, I feel like you can lift the world watching that movie.
Yeah,
You would
yeah.
just feel it. And first off, I love Ludwig Göransson on the
Goranson.
soundtracks. Black Panther soundtrack. I could listen to the
Fruitvale Station,
listen to the original
up
score,
Oppenheimer.
like, and you feel like you're watching the movie again. You know, that's when they
Yeah,
literally play like the background music and also the
yeah.
soundtrack. Um,
hmm
the Irish
I mean, dare I say, the music was a character.
the music was that was an experience in itself. Like I said, the second time I saw it, I'm like, okay, this literally could be a musical. It could be
No
its own
question.
genre, but like, and so even I like the Irish music, doing the river
Hey,
dance.
I was bopping.
I, so the other weird, like when I was a little kid, like I was infatuated by the river dance. It was like Michael
I was like, oh
Flaherty, like
shit.
the
Yeah,
yeah.
that was big for us. I'm sure we learned about it at the same time in life. I was like, okay, the river dance, and like motherfucker was dancing up with them goddamn rivers. And oh boy said that he learned that as a young man, and he kept that in his back pocket. So the whole time, Ryan and the cast didn't know that he could do that. They just wanted him to kind of like dance and prance around. And so when he did that, they was like, that's got to be
I
it,
didn't know
dog.
that. I didn't know
It's
that.
that's pure Ireland, dog. And he was like,
But
yeah. So I kept that in my back pocket, you know.
I went yeah, I went to
That's
Dublin
my best
and
accent.
that was one of my favorite places in Europe because the music. So I love like so they in street music is big there. You know, they got the violins and you know the
Mm,
guitar and like it's just a vibe in itself.
yeah.
And I you know, and this movie was diverse. It was inclusive. I mean, I mean, you had different cult. You had the indigenous. You had the, you
I
had.
fuck with the indigenous, man. They say, listen, we're gonna give y'all one shot to
I
listen to
I
us.
think that would be an ill movie too. If he
Come
wanted to
on.
go you know
That would be
explore
dope.
that.
Because how did they know about it? Like they were hunting him down. They were on a mission. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like that backstory, like some elite ass indigenous vampire hunters. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm
And
I'm I'm, I'm locked in.
then that's a whole other area of spirituality that they can explore
Hmm.
there. That I
The
think
fire
that's going to
keepers, yeah.
happen. But you know, you had the one eighth black woman, or you know, in this case, a
Oh, the
white passing.
Octoroon.
You had
Good
the
afternoon, my
Irish.
Octoroon.
You had the Irish. Um, you had a little bit of everything,
The
and it
Asians,
was
yeah.
and then and the music was extremely diverse, especially in that one scene, and then you kind of go
Come
into
on.
like it just try to pulls you in.
Future.
It brings you into like okay, connects the past to what would be the future in this movie, but our present, and it's just like
Yeah. Did you
I,
now, let me ask you, did you know anything about that scene coming up?
when I saw it, no, no,
Like did you have an inkling or
the
anything?
first time, no, I didn't. I think I might have like teared up. It was so beautiful. I was like, whoa, like did this just happen? Because like that was
Yeah.
insane. And it's like
Yeah.
all those type of sounds you know you love, right? It even
Yes.
had Chinese and dance was the
Yep.
other part too, right? You had
Yep.
like twerking, you had
Loved it.
you know the African traditional dance. All this stuff is just it
All those
was
things that are usually deemed sinful or negative, but like that is who we are. And not sinful with negative people, but I'm saying like that's our culture. Our
mhm,
culture is always expressed through music, right? Our blues are always the condition, right? Think about that car ride where Delta Slim is telling that story about when he got taken by the sheriffs to play that thing, and his buddy got caught by the Klan. And I love that they didn't show black trauma porn. They didn't show that man getting lynched, but you heard it. You know, you heard the people screaming, you heard the glass breaking, you heard the rope tie, you know, and then him, you know, being disemboweled, and they cut off his manhood, as they always did back then. And like that was like that was telling the horror, the true horror of what it means to be black in the Jim Crow South, but also by not being super almost, you know, gratuitous with their violence and showing that. So, but then what did that lead right into? Him going, and then Sammy, you got that guitar, don't you, boy? And like it turns because that our blues becomes the music. And what Delta Slim said was, you know, white folks, because this story about him getting white folks off beat and confusing them. He said, but they like blues music. They just don't like the people that make it.
mhm.
And that could be said about football, basketball, rap music, pop culture,
yeah, just
policies created by Barack Obama. I mean, you name it.
just dribbles, yeah. You know, respect the flag and
Right.
all that. Anyways,
How dare you?
yeah,
But yeah, but good.
no, I was just gonna say, you know, and when I first time I saw this movie, I was like thinking of the genre of like Lovecraft Country,
Yes.
Us, um,
Yes.
them came to mind. Them just
I haven't seen them.
drama. So them is the first season is trauma porn to me. Like
Mm.
I had a hard time watching it. The second season I enjoyed much more, but the first season I was just like, this is too heavy, man. Like I need somebody to like upright. I need something good to happen. I could. It just wasn't a good feeling that first season
Dang.
of them. But you know, Get Out, like all all of these, but the period piece of like the Lovecraft Country and them. Uh, I like I think it's great. And what's her name is in Lovecraft Country too.
Woman Mofongo.
Wom Yes, thank you. And I'm terrible with names as is, so but with remembering names. But she was brilliant in that movie. She was brilliant in this movie. Um,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah, I
I think
mean,
she was one of my favorite characters. Really.
and you notice, and I love that like they showed how we actually interact communally. Like, so when the shit popped off, she's like, "This ain't no hang. This is a vampire." People were like, "Okay, whatever Annie says, okay." People were like, "Hold
Right.
on, shut up, Annie. You don't know what you're talking about." They were like, "What? Okay, so the garlic over here. Okay, we got the garlic. Okay, trapped in the soul. It's not the switch out. Got it." Like there was no like, hold on, let's debate this. You're a woman. I'm a man. I've been to war. Because again, a lot of times people they project onto us this kind of super patriarchal mindset versus how we've always been ancestrally. We've been communal, and we've always respected women, right? We've always kept those who protect us as rarefied air. And I think he did really good with that. And on the flip side, you get Mary. You know, Mary tried to leverage that whiteness
Mm.
and say, well, let me go outside and go get that money. Let me go talk to him. And just like folks who try to leverage whiteness in this country, especially folks who are passing or lighter skin like myself, it's like, you know, it's a bad bet.
Well,
I learned that at a very young age.
and so here, well, yeah, and so here, well, here's the other way to look at it too. Is like she was using her privilege, but she was using it for to capitalize to get the money. And I thought that was a theme, the kind
Yeah.
of that capitalist mindset, right? Because Smoke and Stack,
Yeah.
one they had already ripped off the Irish and the Italian,
Yep.
and then they wanted to capitalize even more, and they made a deal. To me, they made a deal with the devil when they met this white man KKK, and I think in the beginning of the movie they said do business with the. They came back to Mississippi instead of
Mm-hmm.
Chicago because it was the devil they knew. They could see it, like it
That's
wasn't
right.
hidden. And yet they still made a deal with this man, and he was the reason this whole thing popped off, right? Because
Yep.
the white couple, the KKK couple, they
Mm-hmm.
were the ones who spilled the beans of
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, there's this shit going down,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna go and kill these people, and take their money, get our money back, get our property back.
And you see there too is like how whiteness doesn't really work because Remick when he first gets to the door he tries to use he uses the name Choctaw. He says it's the Choctaw after me,
Mhm.
but then he realized these are some fucking racists when he saw the clan robe. Then he calls them some Indians.
Yeah,
And then they're like, okay,
yeah.
all right, now we get you, right? So he had to realize, okay, these humans, there's a certain level of intellect which is very ignorant that I have to then lower myself to,
Hmm.
because again, ignorance requires ignorance. I mean, racism requires ignorance. So I mean, Remick again, and the last character I want to get to here is Remick. But I do want to talk about Bow and Grace before that. Um, that he had to leverage that, right? So when the natives came and they're like, "Ma'am, is there someone here? Is he in your house?" He is not what he seems. And I thought that was a great representation of this past election. I'm just going to get a little political and heady, but like, you have people of color warning white people who are unwilling to let go of the white supremacy and hold on to their guns in
Hmm.
the face of us and would harm us. And then we're saying, hey, the person you let in, Donald Trump, Mike, what's the Speaker of the House? Mike Johnson.
Hmm.
Name Marjorie Taylor Greene. You name them. These people mean you harm. These are grifters. These people who will destroy the country. May God be with you.
Right.
And they bowed.
All right.
Bro was like,
It's
hey,
getting dark.
90, hey, it's getting dark in America. It's getting dark.
So
92%, 80% said, all
yeah.
right, hey,
And where'd that
may
get
God
them?
be with them.
Where'd that get them? They gave them eternal life, I guess. They got it in
A part of the cult.
they got it in a different way than they expected, right? They didn't get eternal life through Jesus. They got it through vampire.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's where a lot of these people are going.
But to your point about the how what's the word you said how multicultural it was, how diverse. God, I can't think of the word. How diverse this movie was. Moving on to Bo and Grace, that was a really cool perspective, right? That like a lot of people learned about the Chinese in the
Mm,
Delta.
mm-hmm,
The Chinese were brought here, of course, as we know, a lot of Chinese men were brought here, not the women.
mm-hmm,
They would not allow that to happen because they didn't want them to procreate and create more Chinese people here. So a lot of them, when they did bring women, they settled in these areas. Now, if you guys remember, folks who have seen it, when Smoke walks into the grocery store when he saw Lisa and he met Bo, and then Bo said, "Go get your mother." She left the black store. This shows how segregation was just so normal and commonplace in this moment. She walks from the black store across the street to their white store where
mm-hmm,
grace is serving the white people, right?
mm-hmm,
And this is what we talk about, like, oh, what's how segregation benefited us, but it's always under a white rule, right? I think when folks have this kind of halcyon understanding of segregation, like back then we were fine, but it was under white rule and white control, white dominance, right? Per the end of the movie.
mm-hmm,
So that I thought was interesting, because to a degree, how they met their fates to a degree was also how we may see Asians in our communities, in this country, right? Where it's like, I'm not really here, to liberate y'all. I'm
mm-hmm.
here to make this money,
Right.
and I'm here, I'm not here for all this crazy shit they got going on here. We here to help out with the party. I mean, and even to the point where Smoke was teaching that young girl about how to negotiate with numbers was a very beautiful, scene where he's like, numbers are always in conversation with each other. He taught baby girl a lesson, and like he made her feel good about herself, and realize how much her time was worth.
Mm-hmm,
And then what did he do? He then applied that with grace in a more stern way.
mm,
All right, $14, $13, $15.
right.
Boom, this is a transaction. So that part of the one, there was an Asian grocery store, and then a white and a black one. But do you remember this? There's also a Jewish store there, the Rosenthals.
I
You remember
missed that.
that?
I missed that part. Nope.
It was
That's.
right next to them. Yeah. So these are all oppressed groups in this country, right? Black, Asian, Jewish communities. But yet still there's still a hierarchy. Who gets to own things? Who gets to be property owners? Who gets to be the ones that dictate even the flow of funds, even back then?
Mm, I did see the
And
tamales. I did catch that, but I didn't catch the what you saw. What was it?
the Rosenthals is
Rosenthal's. Mm-hmm.
I think it was a pharmacy. I think it was a
Okay.
pharmacy. It's right when that scene cuts right in, where he's pulling in the driving light. So yeah, that was very interesting. Yeah, and then of course, as now to your point about Grace, Grace. Do we need to give Grace some grace? Like, what would you do? I mean, you have two daughters. I got a son and a daughter.
uh,
Is that the move?
no, I don't. I don't think so. I don't think because I was just like, well, I mean, what are you gonna do? Because it ain't like you're gonna go and save him. And I think she wanted revenge. I think she felt like Bo was gone, right? So I'm just gonna sacrifice all y'all, and get
How did you react in
vengeance.
that moment? Like when you first saw it, how did you react
So
in that?
I missed it the first time because I didn't understand the vampire
Oh, that's right.
lore.
That's right.
So the
That's right. You're right.
second time, I was like, at the second time, I understood it, but way before that, and then I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh,
Okay.
she done said, come on in. She invited him
So
in
with
like
context,
that.
your second time. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So it was a different experience. Honestly, like it was a completely different experience. It was infuriating, right? Because like, but you gotta have these movies gotta have these twists and turns, and
You
but
got to end the film eventually.
right, like what are they gonna do? Just stay holed up and
Wait
the
all
movie is
night.
over? Yeah, exactly. But that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed
Right,
to go
right.
check and see what's happening. You're not supposed to, investigate and all those things. But
Right.
what did you think?
Oh, I mean, I think the entire theater gasped. Like, I mean, there was like pockets of black people. You know how we be in theaters. They was like, girl, whoop her ass. Now, even me, I was like, I think I said to my frat brothers, I said, since you said it, you on the front lines. Like, Grace, you got to be on the front. Now, granted, she was gully.
Mm-hmm.
She grabbed that Molotov cocktail, threw that joint right at Remy, said, nah. And I was like, oh, okay, damn it. Okay, I guess we in this fight. And then like it was popping off immediately after that. But yeah, so ending on trying to get some time here to finish up. I do want to end on Remick and then the final line of the film and what that meant to you. If you did you stay for, there's two post credits, folks. Did you stay for both credits?
The first time I didn't, I was like, oh, all these people are
Okay.
watching. These people are walking out. They're silly. They don't know what they're doing. And then so I watched the first post credit, and then I
Okay.
left.
Oh, okay.
And then you see, I think it was you. You were like, "Yo, did you check the second one?" Or I might have saw someone on Instagram, and I was like, "What?" And so then,
Damn.
yeah, so I stayed for the second. But yeah,
Well,
you see half the theater walk out the first time, and you see
yep.
like another quarter walk out the second one.
Yep.
Um,
The lights didn't come on. Yeah, if
I
anybody that watches
s-
Marvel films, y'all should know that. Marvel's big for that. Again, in Thunderbolts, they did that. The probably one of the best endings in Marvel for a long time.
okay, I gotta check that out.
Um, but just to finish up here, Remick. Remick was one of the most sympathetic villains in the film. Dare I say, w- wasn't really a villain. Wasn't really a villain. Yeah, vampires. It's like being mad at fish swimming. Yeah, the fish gonna swim. Vampires gonna try to bite you. You know what I mean? He wasn't out here trying to like be terrible. You know what I mean? Yes, I do think
Well,
he's a bigger allegory for what he represents. I'm going to talk about that in a second here. But what are your thoughts on Remick? Sorry.
you think if you think about it with a spiritual lens, right? He was converted to a vampire, and
Yeah.
he was basically recruiting and trying to bring people into this everlasting life of his version of everlasting life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he was woke. He was explaining like, yo, like,
Bro was woke. Okay. It was the wokest
um,
white vampires I've ever seen in my life.
so yeah, I mean, his character was again so many layers in this movie, but I thought, yeah. What do you think?
Yeah. I think yeah, Remick, great character. I loved his jig. I guess that's what you call it, the Irish jig. But just I just wrote down a quick thing about that. I just thought Remick was, I think, indicative of what it means to have folks familiar with the culture and you let them in, and it's kind of the vampiric nature of white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
Remick said, I heard the music and because I need that to get to where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And if you won't give it to me, so I'm just gonna take it, if you don't invite me in. Or I gotta take it because I can't have it, I can't create it, right? But I want it and I have to be able to have it. And there's something to that, right? Because like that's what happens within our culture where folks are like, I can't make the music, I can't make the styles, I can't make the language. That's why folks are still saying on fleek today, right? Like they don't know how to create the culture, right? And on the flip side, in reality, you have 400 years. You have to continually feed this insecurity into the next generation, to the next generation that we aren't worthy, right? You have to put us into human zoos. You had us three-fifths compromising the damn Constitution. You have to keep diminishing us, knowing that you need us. You know what I mean? So or you wouldn't have traveled across the world, in 1492 or whatever, in the ocean blue to go get us if you couldn't do it. But it wasn't just free labor. And I thought about that within Remy. It wasn't just the free music, the voice of Sammy. And it wasn't that with us within the society, right? Like you didn't know what to do. You didn't know how to plant the stuff. You didn't know how to grow the stuff. You didn't know how to do the things, right? Like Omniscius taught you how to save yourself from smallpox. He was the enslaved person of Cotton Mather that taught America how to have vaccines,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like under Cotton Mather, right? And he was a man who was in bondage. And Uncle Nearest gave y'all the damn recipe for bourbon. Like that is the theft, the vampiric nature of white supremacy that I think Remick represented, right? It seems nice and calm and kind, but in reality, it is meant to take and suck away. And this is not a thing that's like I hate black people. It's that I can't be you. And if you won't let me take it, I will destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what is our recourse? And it's like if you do try to build on your own, and you're not supposed to be able to build on your own because you're inferior, according to them, right? It's like you got Rosewood and Greenwood and Eatonville and Wilmington, North Carolina. And it's like all those things, And it's like, oh, you got a piano? Oh, you Mount Bayou grocery store, the people's grocery store? No, we have to burn it all down because we can't have that. We can't build what y'all are doing. And every place we grow, we build, they want to take it because you can't do it. And if it wasn't Thomas Jefferson himself who said the enslaved people can they couldn't divulge an idea outside of mimicry, the enslaved. But yet Africans were running his whole goddamn plantation, from the planting schedules to everything.
And
So,
without access to books, right? You know,
right.
like
I mean,
so
we were
it's
the
like
hardest working
it's
people.
like
Like we built this fucking country,
why
and they needed us. But then 5 years after emancipation, we're lazy.
right. And what and, you know, you won't let people read. You won't let people read because you don't want to give access to books because knowledge is power,
Because
right?
we
And
need to have you subjugated.
exactly, because knowledge is truly power, and here we are today.
Yeah,
You know,
and we see what they're doing. So
trying to
I thought that was
yeah.
it was just mirrored to me, that history, that idea of like, y'all can't have it, and I want it at the expense of, I will kill all of y'all if I can't get it. He even said, just give me Sammy, I'll let y'all live. That was an ultimatum. If you don't give me Sammy, I'm gonna kill all y'all. If you don't give me your women, if you don't give me your free labor, if you don't give me this intellectual hard work, I will kill you.
Hmm.
And that's been the gun of white supremacy to our heads, since we've been forced on these shores since 1619. So Remick, great character. Sorry, good. Well, I'm sorry. What were your thoughts on Remick?
No, I gave my thoughts. I thought that I think the way you explained it is an excellent take in terms of the vampiric nature and just sucking the bloodsuckers of like culture and soul and all of the things that you know. So, anyways, um, you know, I guess we'll try to end it. I have a question. What did you think of the last second credit scene?
Well, my last part was the my last part I want to touch on was the last line, the last actual line that was not a song, which was the first credit scene. And I don't know if we should go into it, or like, if people, fuck it, y'all should see it by this point.
You know, if they're watching
So
this, it's ruined. So,
right, right, right. So it's 1992. We're in Chicago. Rom, a little 8-year-old Rom. How old are you at that point? You six, a 6-year-old Rom's running around
yeah,
Chicago. Are you in
yeah.
Chicago at that point? Where you at?
I was in Chicago.
Okay, so Rom is
Ish. I actually
somewhere
was in
around there.
California for a year around that time, but
Okay,
yeah.
so he was hanging with Ryan Coogler and them, and Michael Bakari. Um, no, and and we see that the connection again, that music of the two vampires Stack being able to finally be protected, because of the sacrifice that him and Smoke made, where he said, "Look, you just don't mess with Sammy. I'll let you live," and he could not bite him. There was not really an explanation around that. I think it's some sort of, to your point, spiritual. There was no silver around his neck or anything like that, but it's just more or less, I think this made their brotherly bond. He couldn't do it.
Hmm.
And when he goes to see Sammy, Sammy's now an old man, played by Buddy Guy,
Hmm.
Shauna from DTP's daddy. If you guys didn't
I
know
didn't know that
that,
was Sean. I didn't know that was Sean's day. I used to
yeah.
live like right across the street from Buddy Guy's lounge. It was with the one of his newer ones, but and
Okay.
I actually thought that they might have been at the Green Door Tavern, which is a famous jazz blues bar in Chicago. I also love
Okay.
the whole Chicago aspect, the connection there. But yeah,
Have you seen him perform in real life?
no, I haven't seen him perform. I haven't seen him perform.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so Stack and Mary, who are now wearing Coogee sweaters and cross colors, and she's sucking a charmed blow pop. She turned into Snow Allegra. Is that her name, Snow Allegra?
Yeah, there's just
That's her.
no Allegra. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, he said, I want to hear that old thing back, basically. And um, Sammy, played by Buddy Guy, plays traveling, which he did in the car with Stack at the beginning of the film, and it took Stack back to when he was still alive. And the final line, as Stack is walking out, was when Sammy says, "I wake up paralyzed, thinking about that night, at least once a week."
Hmm.
He said, "But before then,
It was
it was the best night of my
the best night of
life."
my life. Yeah.
Was it like that for you? And then Stack says, "Yeah, it's the last time I see my brother. It's the last time I saw the sun. And for just a few hours, we were free." Oh, that line, "for a few hours, we were free." man, because that is an allegory for us today. Every time you are in a corporate office, anytime you are speaking around people who are not of culture, we have to code switch. We
Mm.
have to do these things. I say all the time, like ancestrally, we're not supposed to sit in front of screens all day and push buttons. That is not for our human capacity. That's not what we're supposed to be doing, right? Working for some billionaire. These are all modern concepts. Working in an oppressive system where they can shoot you in the back like the son of Rodney Hinton Jr. Or work in a system where you can be beat to death like Tyree Nichols and the cops still get off. Like the inability to be in a system where your very identity they're trying to strip at a political level from your museums. They're trying to take your history. Like that is when he said we were free for a few hours, I cry, Rom, every all three times I cried because again, as someone who is I think deeply invested into African spirituality and the ability for us to fight for liberation,
Liberation.
it was like the weight, like I felt that weight. And that was for us. That line was talking to us as black people. Even my mom, she's not into all this stuff, but she was like, I felt that.
Yeah, the idea of building their own, buying their own, creating this whole the music, yeah, I get it. Like the
Being amongst us
yeah,
in our
for
in
and
our
they
in our
taking care of each
full
other,
selves.
the community taking care of each other, the different the cultures within even within the community. Um, yeah, yeah, that's real.
That was real, man. That was real. Then the final scene to your point question was what do I think about it was the question?
Yeah, like so, we go back into the church, and it's before all this
Yep.
happened, and he just kind of looks up.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know.
No, so I mean,
What do you got? Let me break it down. Tell me
no,
exactly
no,
what
no.
it is.
I ain't gonna lie. My opinion is tainted. My opinion is tainted. I've heard a few folks who were closer to Ryan Coogler than I am, who made videos about this stuff. But someone said that he had saw, well, maybe by white Christianity standards, be the devil. But as Ryan
Yeah,
Coogler
I
said, that
heard that one.
he was not trying to divine the devil. But it's like maybe like Papa Legba, right? The
Mm.
idea of like that you're at the crossroads, and the idea that this little light of mine, light being the determinant factor that ends the lives of vampires. I'm going to let it shine, but then also
Mm.
letting your voice be heard to then pierce that veil again and say, okay, we're now in a spiritual realm. We're in the house of God, right? A place that would be deemed holy amongst the captives or the descendants of captives. But then also, I'm here to say, where do you want? And then where does Sammy end up? He ends up being famous. He ends up being,
Mm.
he has his club named Pearline after the girl. He ate that box, and she was like, "Yo, she was like, yo, I didn't even wash up." And I was like, "Bro, that's a stiff drink, brother. That's a stiff drink." And he definitely was like, "I just want to try some." I said, "Hey, you know what, player? Hey."
So, well,
And he named.
it's he what? No, I was gonna
I
say
was
that's
gonna
that.
say,
I was gonna say that's that temptation, man. That temptation that came in. It
I ain't
was
that
heavy. It
tempted.
was heavy. It was heavy in this movie, man. And he,
I went up like, "Hey, you
he,
gotta wash up."
she was married. He
Yeah,
knew she was married. And so he was constantly faced with temptation. And did he? People always say within the industry, when you sign a music deal, you sell your soul to the devil, and how they always say that type of thing. And I mean, that was kind of the maybe one of
yeah.
the underlying you know messages, or
I
something.
I like that the club was named Pearline,
Mm.
right? Like, so they brought that character back. The name of the club was Pearline. And, like that brother had that one taste of that
That one,
smack.
yo,
Yeah.
that one
That
night, he
one,
named a whole
one.
bar after her.
60 years later, he's like, shout it, shout it, shout it, she got it going on. But then he had the mark, right? I think, as we talk about African culture, a lot of African cultures they use scarring to say that you've made it past this moment. You've made it past this rite of passage, right? Think of folks like Seal or some other
Mm,
culture that they have the scarring on their face. And like what did Sammy have? He had the scarring that he had crossed over, right? That he was basically made. He's
mm.
a made man. The vampire's like, look, we ain't here to rock with you, player.
Hmm.
We just want to hear the music, dog. And, like we got some more folks go kill tonight. But Sammy, I just want to see you before you die, player. And then like and say I got to live his life. But yeah, overall, man, great film. Any other parting or ending thoughts on Sinners, man?
Nah, the Green Door Tavern. I say if I ever saw a vampire, it would have been it was down the street from Green Door Tavern.
Was that the place in the
It,
movie? Is
it
that Green Door
wasn't. It
Tavern?
wasn't. But I wanted it
Oh,
to be. But
oh, is
anyways,
is that like famous? Is that like a famous spot?
the Green Door Tavern. Yep, yep. Is in Chicago up north, right by the Aragon Ballroom
Oh,
theater.
one last thing. Sorry, one last thing. I'm going to add this. And I don't know if you on your third time check this out. I saw it. I don't know if give me your thoughts. Then we'll end. So in that final scene or the second to final scene, we know Stack walks in. Vampires don't have a reflection. Sammy also doesn't have a reflection, and people are tying that to the final post credit scene that he might have sold his
Oh,
soul. Therefore, he doesn't have a reflection in the mirror.
Green.
D-
So sorry, I got distracted. Green Mill,
no,
Green Mill. I call it Green Door Tavern. That's another place in Chicago. It
you
was
ain't
called
really
the
from
Green
Chicago,
Mill.
bro.
It's
You ain't
called
really
the
from
it
Chicago,
was called the
bro.
Green
Bro, I'm calling all
Mill.
my Chicago niggas up. My Chicago niggas know. They knew it was Green Mill. In fact, I'm getting text right now, bro. Why is he saying that? It's Green Mill. I was like, I
I,
don't
that's embarrassing. But anyways, yeah, the reflection in the mirror. Did I catch it that who didn't have a reflection?
Sammy
He
didn't have a
did. He
reflection.
did. I would look for it. I saw it. He had a reflection.
Now,
Uh,
on my third time, I didn't see it. I saw that I saw the clip or I saw the news about it the second time, and I was like, let me go check this out. And I didn't see a reflection, man.
yeah, no, it's there. I'm almost sure of it.
Almost sure. All right, all right.
Yeah.
It's just worth some conspiracy theories. There's folks, if you haven't seen it at this point, you have seen it. But there's a lot of commentary and dialogue around this film. Again, kudos to Ryan Coogler. And this was I saw my frat brothers. This movie and its positive reaction and all the accolades that it's won is proof that we do not need white totems of acceptance for us to change the culture, right? Like if this movie doesn't win an Oscar, if it doesn't win a Grammy for soundtrack, I mean, yes, it'll be oh how dare freaking I don't know Wreck It Ralph 3 win over over Sinners, but we know what it means to us. We
Yeah,
know what it means culturally, and we validated that shit.
exactly. It goes down in like infamy. Like it's just at first I thought I was over exaggerating. Honestly, like if I tell you like people have to see this movie, like people have to see
Yeah,
it. And not just black folks, like literally like
for sure.
now some of the things that might go over your head culturally, right? But even
Yes, this movie was about slavery.
but it is an experience in itself from a musical lens, from a vampire
Yes.
lens, from a timepiece. You don't
Hmm.
have to get every single thing, and
No,
and there's still elements that I didn't get, but there was so much just watching the first time. I was just like, oh,
you'll enjoy it.
this one is for us, like for sure. And I don't know if I can't. It's have a hard time, especially in like from in this era, in this
Yeah.
generation, like this generation's like I think Spike Lee, like this generation's
Mm.
Spike Lee joint. Um,
Spike Lee, Denzel combo.
yeah. They have a new movie coming out, which you told me about. Like hey,
I mean, I'm already hyped, so we're gonna do a dive on that hopefully. But
yeah,
yeah, so folks, if you haven't seen Sinners, go see it. Again, kudos to Ryan Coogler, Michael B. Jordan, the entire cast, Ludwig Göransson, and everybody that was just touched. All the dialogue, the conversations, the think pieces. It really shows how amazing this film is and how much it meant to us as Black people and to the culture. Because again, as Rom just said, it's not just us talking about it; it's everybody talking about it. And it just got taken out of IMAX to put Thunderbolts in. And they were like, hey, it's just like that. It's a 2 week run for anybody that gets IMAX. IMAX. Every movie gets
it
two
comes
weeks.
back next
But the
week.
fact that but it comes back,
Yeah,
that shows you how legit that movie is. So kudos, folks.
Yeah, I might have to see it. I'm gonna probably have to see it one more time in the theater because that experience.
Let's ride out,
I
man.
think
Me
you have
and
to go
you.
see IMAX. Yeah, let's do it because the just the sound. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
ever been in a movie theater where the sound just is trash.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
And when I had told you, asked you about that
Oh,
music, when I asked you about that music scene, because I had seen you the day later, the day after, and I was like, "Yo, that music scene," and you had seen it on that standard theater, and
oh,
I don't know if it hit as
it wasn't
hard.
hitting. It wasn't.
I mean,
I ain't
it
gonna lie
was
to you.
like when I say
The
out of
visuals
body,
were.
euphoric,
The
like
visuals were. Yeah.
yeah, that was real. So,
I just
anyways,
did one of those Dolby theaters. You ever do one of those?
yeah, I've been in those, but
I've never done that before until Thunderbolts, and that was pretty cool. Like the sound was, I've never heard sound completely immerse me like that. That was pretty cool.
have you been to a 4D movie? I didn't even know it was a thing until like
Is that the moving joint?
yeah, and the spray water. Like apparently this movie was
Yeah,
in there.
it was. Yeah, it was in 4DX because Ryan Coogler was talking about that.
4DX.
I saw what was it like whatever the most recent cartoon Ninja Turtles was with my son, and by the time we left, I felt like I got beat up. I was like, I ain't never doing that shit again. Swear to God, fuck that. But
I would
yeah,
do it if for this one, but it's already gone out of that. I don't think that's an option now.
okay.
I didn't even know that was a thing until
Mm-hmm.
this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, somebody was like saying that they went. I was like, wait, what are you talking about? You left like wet, and I was
I maybe the water scene at the end, but like beyond that,
what
like the dancing
Mary.
part was like, oh yeah, maybe like Mary's riding you, or like
I,
when smoke is like screwing Annie, you're like, oh shit, the seats start moving. It's like my body didn't forget you. It's like, oh, these seats didn't forget me either.
yeah. So, anyways, great movie. Go see it. Thank you for listening in. Like, share, subscribe. We're back on Sunday.
Sunday.
Uh,
So we'll talk more politics, true politics, and what's going on.
yeah, but this was good. It was nice talking
Yeah,
about a movie. Like this for the first. This is actually one of the few movies that I've been interested
you've
in
seen.
talking about in this manner. I've seen Black Panther. I went to see Black, and there's only a few movies I actually seen in this theater twice: Black Panther and Sicario. Um,
Oh, great films.
so yeah, I enjoyed this. But yeah, we'll get back to politics. But it's nice to kind of talk about pop culture and
Of
something a
course,
little bit
because
different.
that's
But
also political.
exactly art. I mean, the art of it. But it's very political. But it's nice to not
The
have to
politics
talk
of the
about
time.
the same old of this uh authoritarian fascist regime.
Hey, it's the same clan.
It is, but
It's the same clan, man. Hey, look, because you just posted the clip from our
can
last
it
episode.
end
It's
the
the same
same?
clan
Can
from
it
that
end?
story.
Can it end the same?
Oh, but see, now they're gonna put you in a gulag. It's like he was trying to, because that is Boss Hog. That is Boss
Hey,
Hog.
yo, the way he went down, like it was
I
he
loved
was
it.
a G. And they were in the military, right? They
Yeah,
were yeah.
they're in Germany, World War One, and and again we're going a little longer, but the fact that Smoke didn't know how to roll his own cigarette, and that was heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because Stack always rolled
always
his
rolled it.
cigarettes,
Yeah.
so he was just his hands, he was shaking. Of course, he was upset, but he didn't know what to do,
Mm-hmm.
and he just crumpled it up, and that's when he pulled the Mojo bag off and was like, you know what, it's time to go get, it's time to go in the trunk and pop that thing.
Yeah.
And he was in the, and so now what I do comment on, like when I see racist shit like on Instagram and something, like I saw one of the Brandons from Tennessee, I think Brandon Jones, um that's the name, right? Brandon Jones, Brian Jones, Brandon Jones,
I
right?
don't know who you're talking about.
From Tennessee, the guy the ponytail, and the other guy's got
Yeah, I know. Brandon, I
is the
think his name is
Brandon's
Brandon Jones. It is Jones.
Brandon.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he posted like some Peckerwood in his state house doing some racist shit, and so now when I comment, I say these are the descendants of the people that Smoke sat in the bushes for.
Justin Jones.
The Justins, not Brandon, Justin Jones. Yeah, but these are the folks that he be posting about, or if I see something racist on Instagram or something political, these are the descendants of the folks that Smoke waited in the bushes for.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch the movie, you know what I'm talking about. So it's
Yeah,
easy
I
way to
mean they're
call them
all
the clan.
littered throughout Tennessee and Mississippi and
They're here.
yeah, North Carolina.
They're
They're in
everywhere.
North
They're
Carolina.
in the north. Don't get it twisted. They're in Chicago. They're in Pittsburgh. They're around. They're around. The clan ain't never die. Again, just like the movie, the clan's good day. Like y'all are bad liars. Y'all are bad. Like we know. That's why they was like,
Yeah.
because we be knowing. Anyway, folks, thank y'all for listening to us break down sinners. Again, a triumph, a tour de force, a triumph, if you will, of cinematic scale, by Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan. Please go check it out, and we will see y'all on the next go around. I am your co-host, Payron Baxter.
I'm your co-host Ram Sandoval. We'll see y'all on Sunday. Good night.
Peace.